Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Chrissy Mayer podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. That's right, even SoundCloud. If you're listening to us right now on iTunes, please go and leave a 5-star review. For example, this wonderful review from Jessie M. The review is called Love This Podcast. Chrissy is the perfect host. She's always funny, very fast on her feet. Comedy comes easily to her. She makes people on and off her show feel like they can easily talk to her, can never get enough of her work. Thank you, Jessie. This episode, this whole month, actually, the whole month of December is sponsored by Lucy Nicotine Gum, and it comes in 3 amazing flavors, which they sent to me: pomegranate, wintergreen, and cinnamon. Lucy Nicotine is a company founded by Caltech scientists and former smokers looking for a better and cleaner nicotine alternative. Finally, tobacco alternatives that don't suck. These products were researched and developed for 3 years to be made for people, not patients. Lucy has created a nicotine gum with 4 milligrams of nicotine that comes in wintergreen, cinnamon, and pomegranate. They also have a lozenge that has 4 milligrams of nicotine in a cherry ice flavor. Each and every flavor actually tastes great, and I am not a smoker, but I love this gum. Like I don't taste any kind of, like, it doesn't taste like cigarettes, which I thought it would. It just tastes like delicious gum. So if you're a smoker, I imagine this would be like a win-win for you. It's convenient and discreet. The products can be enjoyed anywhere, on flights, at work, on the go, or even at the gym. It's about to be 2021, thank God, right? But if one of your New Year's resolutions includes quitting smoking or finding a nicotine alternative, Lucy is definitely the gum for you. Unplug your vape, throw out your dip, and get some Lucy nicotine gum or lozenges. This is the real deal. A subscription to Lucy comes directly to your door each month. It's so simple, you don't have to leave your house because Lucy has delivery down. You'll just get it right to your house. You don't have to think about it. So for all my CMP listeners, go to lucy.co and use the promo code CMP. You're going to get 20% off all products, including gum and lozenges. That's lucy.co, and use the promo code CMP at checkout. Also, I must give this disclaimer. This product contains nicotine derived from tobacco, and nicotine is an addictive chemical. Lucy.co, use that promo code CMP. Also, we are today and always sponsored by Adam and Eve. I just was on the Adam and Eve website today. This is not like the sex toy store of yesteryear. Do you know what I mean? We all know, like, the first sex store we ever went into, and it feels crusty, it feels old, it feels like there's a layer of dust on everything. Adam and Eve is so not that. They have so many great new toys. I was just on the website today. They have, like, different kinds of clit rubbers. Like, I'm a vibrator gal, so I was looking on the website today and I was like, oh, there's many different types of vibrators. If you're a butt plug guy or gal, that's there too. Really, they have an amazing selection of toys. And if you use the promo code CMP at checkout, you'll get almost any item online for 50% off, plus free shipping. So this is an amazing deal. If you're looking to get yourself a little present for the holidays, if you're looking to get your loved one a present for the holidays, not like your mom or dad, but like your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your best, even, if you're a girl listening to this and you're like, you know what? Amanda could use a few more that's my sister's name. Amanda could use a few more orgasms in her life. Send your sister a vibrator. I've done it. She's done it. Go to adamandeve.com and use the promo code CMP. Get almost 50% off any item online, plus free shipping. You deserve it, guys. I am so excited to have this girl on the pod. Been a big admirer of hers for quite a while. She is an adult film star. You can follow her on Instagram, on OnlyFans. She has written for the Daily Beast. This gal does it all. It's Cherie DeVille.
Hello. Thanks for having me on.
How are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
Yeah, I am great. Yeah, I didn't know if your name was pronounced Cherie or like French or like Cherry or or Cherie.
I just tell people if they're riding my face, they can call me whatever they want. Just throw it out there. I'll accept any pronunciation at that point.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. Like if you are making me come or hanging up a shelf or like doing something I need, yeah, call me whatever.
Yeah, I'm
Call me.
there. But I intended it to be Cherie.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, sometimes like I've talked to different girls in adult like mostly over the last year I've got to know a lot of them, and some say, oh, some go by their real name, some girls have their stage name kind of like picked out for them by their management, which I thought was very interesting. The idea of like, okay, this is just going to be your name because there are no other Sylvias in adult.
Right? Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, it was actually Sylvia Sage who told me that. And I'm like, yeah, I can't think of any, and she was like, I didn't like the name at first. It sounded kind
It
of
is
old.
smart to do some research before you get in so you don't end up accidentally having the same name as someone who's currently performing, because that definitely will cause a little bad blood.
Yeah, that would be horrible. Did you find that with you, like you just sort of like it was all on you, or did you kind of
Yeah, I
search
chose
around?
mine and I just, I used the power tool Google, and it looked like there weren't any other Cherie DeVille pornographers, so I just went with it. There
Huh.
are some other people with the last name DeVille that came before me, but I don't know how they feel about it, but I never mind when someone else uses that last name. There are some, I
Like
think Anna DeVille and
Cruella.
Cruella DeVille, Total Hoe.
No relation.
Yeah.
You don't have an evil Dalmatian hating aunt named Cruella somewhere.
If I did, I'd have a serious and stern conversation with her about all those Dalmatians.
I wanted to talk to you about this because, of course, like, COVID has thrown a very interesting monkey wrench into everyone's life. It's affected all of us. But even before this, you have been talking about the testing system inside the adult industry. You've written several op-eds for the Daily Beast. I was just reading one about this topic, and you were talking about how, your ideas for what's maybe problematic about the testing system in the adult industry, and maybe how contact tracing enters into this. And I wondered if you could explain for the audience, maybe some issues with it that
Yeah.
they hadn't thought of.
So for me, before the pandemic, I was really comfortable with the way that we were doing our testing. So basically, we have something, it's a pass system. It's a group of people who sort of oversee the testing, and collectively we decide what types of tests are okay, like what way are we going to test for HIV, what test are we going to use for syphilis, which STDs are we going to test for, are we going to leave any out? So all of that is decided. And then we found testing centers that were willing to comply with what we needed: a 24-hour turnaround, the testing done in certain ways, the ability to keep patient information HIPAA protected while still entering all of the performers' test results, if you will, into a larger database we call the PASS system. So if I tested today, tomorrow in the PASS system would be not, what I might have contracted or not contracted, just a pass or a not pass. So I would be green or red. So you could go on and see Cherie DeVille is good to go. I feel confident that she's been tested to the best of our abilities. Unfortunately, what happened with COVID, when the industry decided we wanted to open up again, like the mainstream shooting industry did, we knew we needed to add COVID testing to our testing panel, right? And I don't know all the logistics of why they made this decision, but we have two testing centers: Cutting Edge Testing and Talent Testing. Cutting Edge Testing was willing to comply with what we needed for COVID and continue to enter our STI and our COVID results into our PASS system, and Talent Testing was not willing to do that. So Talent Testing pulled out of the PASS system. Unfortunately, a lot of talent and companies are still accepting talent tests. So you could say, well, here's my test, and look at it, and that when you took that test, you were STD free, and all of that is still true. But one of the things I really liked about the pass system was the thing you brought up, which is the contact tracing. For COVID, obviously, that becomes important. But for me, even though I am concerned about COVID, my larger concern was what are we as an industry now going to do when inevitably, and this happens yearly, HIV or syphilis or one of the more serious STDs enters the talent pool. In the past, with the pass system, what happened was it was flagged immediately, and porn across the United States and sometimes worldwide is immediately shut down. I've left
Oh,
set in the middle of scenes before. I mean, it is
no. Wow.
immediately shut down to keep everybody safe until they do the contact tracing, see who may have been affected, retest those people, receive the results, and open up the industry again. Without that, even though you can look at someone's test and see that they're clear, you don't know what's happening with the person before them, the person they slept with yesterday, the day before, the 27. Think of it, think of how big it gets. We worked together, we both worked with someone else the day before, they worked with someone else the day before. This person had a gang bang. Well, within our 14-day window, because we only test every 14 days, it can become an exponential amount of people, which is why just seeing a clean test really doesn't give you the full picture like the pass system did. So I wrote that op-ed because of my concerns, not just with our ability now to COVID contact trace without the pass system, but our ability to HIV contact trace, syphilis contact trace. So yes, people are still working with clean tests, but the umbrella, or more really of a safety net, the safety net, that safety net we had of the pass system is a bit torn. They're kind of cobbling it together with like agents talking to each other and all that, but porn is too big for agents talking to each other to be a truly appropriate solution, or certainly to trust, unfortunately, our fellow coworkers. The 2 times that I've contracted an STD, both times it was gonorrhea, I did contract it on set, and yet nobody had the courtesy to call me to tell me that,
Oh,
while I
man.
did have the courtesy to call and tell my coworkers. So I'm not going to bet HIV or syphilis on somebody feeling motivated enough to call me. So that's my main current testing woes, if you will.
That I can't imagine how like how terrible and feeling maybe like disrespected, especially when that's something that you're doing. Yeah, totally with COVID aside, I can't imagine how bad that must feel to be like, wow, like somebody, obviously somebody I slept with at work had gonorrhea or had syphilis. I always throw syphilis in there with chlamydia, but I know that chlamydia is like less of a big deal because if you I mean, I've had it like once or twice, and you just like take pills and it's gone.
Yeah,
But I
it's
hadn't
good.
felt anything. Um, but I can't imagine how bad that feels. You're like, okay, yes, nobody wants to.
Right, there's still,
Yeah,
even though we're in a profession where you'd think a lot of the shame had been removed from sex, there's still shame revolving around STIs, even the way that I'll hear coworkers talking about it, like we popped dirty for gonorrhea. Even the word dirty has a psychological implication. So even the words that we're using when we're talking about STIs in the industry, I think illuminate the shame that some people still have. And I think it's that shame that we're cultivating by even allowing this language to go on, that's creating the environment where you might not want to call a coworker, oh, I'm dirty, I'm unclean. And none of those things are real, of course. But if you feel that, you might become ashamed and you might not want your colleague to know it was you. Do you know what I
right.
mean?
Because then it's like,
I
are you
don't
going to
subscribe to
remember?
it, but yeah.
Maybe they're worried, like, so and so will, yeah, I'll feel ashamed, and so and so will look at me differently from now on. But it's like, I hate to call it, like, I want to think of some other term other than wear and tear with like adult film stars, but
It's
like,
just
it's just
normal.
you're doing your job. It's like, yeah, comedy. I'm gonna have a microphone covered in lipstick on it after a drag show, or you're gonna get a microphone that's like smells weird. I don't know. It's just like, this is what happens. Like, you're gonna have drunk fans after shows, you know, it's just what happens. It's just part of the job. So
Yeah.
I mean, I
If you're
can,
deciding to have even tested, unprotected sex with a multitude of partners on a weekly basis, you're rolling the dice for an STI each time, despite our very best testing. And it's super rare, but you're right. It's still just one of those occupational hazards, if you will.
and if everyone's getting tested every 2 weeks, odds are probably somebody is getting their STIs from like someone outside the industry that they're sleeping with. More
Sure.
likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, porn is ever evolving, and what it was to be in porn like in the 90s and early 2000s doesn't at all mean the same thing now. There's more people making a genuine living off of the erotic arts, off of filming that than ever. So you don't just have your core group of 100 people who work for the top companies like Brazzers and Naughty America and Penthouse. You have content trade, and you have YouTube celebrities that are doing sex work, and there's just so many people in our giant pool now that I feel like, yeah, it's more important to be conscientious than
And
ever.
how long have you been in the industry, Cherie? Like, when did you start? I should know this. I should have Googled
10
this.
years.
10 years. That's wow. It's like we're the same.
A
We're the
decade
same.
of hoeing.
Yeah, I've been doing comedy 10 years as well. So we're kind of like equals. No.
We're
Do you,
basically sisters now.
I wonder if you feel this way and like veterans of the industry, like you look at the like newer girls, you look at the ones that are just getting into OnlyFans in the pandemic, or you're looking at the ones that are like, of course, every industry will evolve and change over the years. But I wonder if like you're like me, like I look at the like YouTube comedians and I look at the ones that like maybe just got into it. Like before the pandemic, I would not that I would look down. Okay, I would look down on like actors that I would meet in LA. Like they're doing stand-up but by way of acting, or like their agent thought they should just try comedy because it's like an easier way into certain roles. Like
Oh, snap. That seems offensive.
do girls in the industry, do you feel like there's like a gentle disrespect for the girls that like just got into OnlyFans over the lockdown, or kind of new in the industry, or more fringe instead of like classic, in production, been doing it 10 years, going through the major studios?
Yeah, it's such a I mean, I personally feel, but I think it's my personality. I'm just kind of easygoing, like, oh, there's plenty for everybody. But it is something that I hear a lot, like, oh, when I got into it's kind of like I used to walk uphill both ways in the snow to go to school. It's like I had to take 7 dicks in my ass before they'd even give me a chance. And now you're making $100,000 a month on OnlyFans just winking one eye. Like, there's a little bit of sassy
Oh my God.
there,
I see you saying to your grandkids, like, look, I had to take 7 dicks in my ass uphill both ways every morning.
And now you're just sitting in your couch, just hoeing away,
Yeah, just raking in the dough, just bending over in a thong.
Right? And you're like, 12 hours on set,
Yeah. You ever
Yeah,
got cum in
I
your
feel like
eye?
everyone can get a little curmudgeon-y about, their job like that. But I feel like that's just kind of natural. Like when the path to get in was so narrow and we all had to do it just so, and then it just opened up and you're like, well, fuck, it just comes from jealousy. You're like, well, I wish.
Yeah. God, there's like so many similarities to comedy. Like you work so hard. Like I've talked to other girls that have been doing it like about the same amount of time. There's this whole idea, and almost like you have to pay your dues. You have to like grind it out at mics, and like and before social media was a big thing, that would be the only way to get seen, and you have to get an agent, and you have to get on a late night spot, and that's the only way to break through and get to road gigs and more. And now it's like, oh, it's so open. You could just have a viral TikTok and boom, like you'll get a Netflix special, and like, it is kind of easier if you're
it's
a newer
infuriating,
person.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're like, I had to do check, 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 check. And then, you just burst through all that in a second because of the different technologies. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you finding like, of course you don't have to name names, but I think of like comedy too. I'm now we've been dealing with this for like 8, 9 months now. And I'm noticing I wonder if you noticed this in porn, but I'm noticing the comics that didn't evolve or didn't like kind of pivot, kind of switch it up and like roll with what's going on now. Like, the stage shows are mostly not happening. If they did not develop like their online presence, like they're kind of fucked and it's going to be all but impossible for them to come back. Are you starting to notice like people you had worked with, like maybe they just were into like the big production studios and maybe they don't have as much of an online presence? Or do you feel like most adult film stars, it goes hand in hand, like they're going to be good at online stuff?
Well, I think in terms of the ability to pivot to online, everybody's tried, everybody's opened the OnlyFans or the Snapchat or the clip stores. But you are very correct in saying those that, like, it just hit at the right moment for me. I had spent 10 years building up my brand, building up my social media, building up my fan base, so that when this pandemic did hit, the transition to online sales was easy because all the companies I had worked for those 10 years, all the promotion, all the advertising dollars they had put behind my career for their benefit had bolstered me to a point where I could transition to online. But the new girls who have shot like 10 scenes or they've been in 1 year and they haven't acquired a fan base that they can monetize, I mean, they might be on OnlyFans, but it's a fucking hustle without a fan base.
Yeah. That's what I've found too for comedy. It's like you could be like an industry darling, or you can work on your fan base, which is like, okay, you're more so going to get what you put into it. If you really focus on, okay, who likes me and how can I find more of them? And I've noticed like an interesting way that women and adult do this, and like men too, is our collaborations and content shares. And I've noticed you've worked with a couple of my favorites,
Ooh.
Danny Daniels,
She's
who
my best friend in the whole
I
world.
love her. I did her Two Onions podcast. God, this was last year at this point. And also Alexis Fox, who
Oh,
has done my other show, Wet Spot, a couple times. Like over the last few months, over
A+
Zoom.
women.
And I love these girls. And what do you, and I don't know you've collaborated with other folks, but those two really stuck out to me. What do you love most? And they must be like your favorites, right? Because I'm noticing like you're working with them a lot. Like,
You
what do
see, you can tell whose people's actual friends are because they just are. Yeah.
yeah, you can always sense like joy, like that
Yeah.
always comes through, even if it is like through online. What do you love about working with them, and what makes for like a good collaborator?
When it's with my friends, especially with Danny, because we've known each other now for 10 years and have been like extremely close the whole time, we just come up with outrageous things. Like we lived together for a month over the summer because we just needed to like get away for a minute. And so we
Oh,
would just like go online and buy ridiculous props and then be like, what are we going to do with this? Like we bought an inflatable alligator once and made like this whole fake nature show where I was like, I mean, basically we just try and make each other laugh and try and have the most fun we possibly can together. And then we're like, oh yeah, it's supposed to be sexy, have sex at the end, everybody loves it, we're good.
like, oh, we were having so much fun, we almost forgot to have sex.
Right? Yeah.
And an inflatable alligator, I mean, that can be used for so much. You could do like a New Orleans, themed porn. You could do so much. Put it in a pool. I mean, maybe that's
Oh
it.
yeah. I think the best part is just coming up with like, I love fun costumes. I love silly ideas because I mean, at the end of the day, this is porn. I take it seriously and it's a joyful art form, but I don't believe it needs to be like dead serious to be a great porn. And when I'm working with my friends, I just want to have a really fun fucking day
Yeah,
or a really fun day
absolutely.
fucking.
That is something I have to remind even like the people listening to this who aren't porn stars, which I imagine are most of you. Porn is always great, as a great reminder for me that like sex does not have to be serious. And I don't know if I don't know what it is, if it's like my whatever my sexual upbringing is, or the fact that I'm a Scorpio, I sometimes think like I have to be sultry and serious about sex, and like I can't be like light and fun like my regular personality. You know, I always think like, oh, well, funny and sexy, like that's they don't go together. Because for years I've been hearing you know, from audiences or comedy industry people like, well, no, you have to like dress down. You can't like show cleavage on stage. So like I
Oh,
have this separation of like funny and sexy in my mind. So I
interesting.
so it's
I
like
mean, there's a place for sultry. Sometimes all I want to do is vamp or be like that cougar who's like dead serious taking that younger man. But like, especially when I'm working with a girlfriend, like I can't hide our natural friendship energy, even when we're having sex, you know?
yeah. Do you ever like does it happen a lot? Like do you make each other like straight up like laugh, or you have to be like, okay, cut. We have to do this
Oh,
over.
we'll make a game out of it to see who can say something so outrageous that the other one breaks character.
Oh my God, that's great. Yeah, I know because Danny was in New York. I think she moved recently.
Yeah.
But that was fun. Like I loved her and Vic. Like they're so funny together. And
They're really, and they're like that. They're just genuinely an awesome fucking couple. Yeah.
yeah. All right. So it's good. So anybody you collab with, they obviously like you have to have the same sense of humor, and you know, I guess definitely a respect from it. Because right, if somebody's not your friend, it's like you're getting naked with them, so it's like you better trust each other and like respect each other's work. And there's and there's
Especially when it's content trade, because you know you're putting a lot of trust in that person that they're going to show up and they're going to be professional because you've bought stuff or you've rented a location and a makeup artist. So I don't often collaborate like that with people I don't know, because if they flake, I'm out so much money and I'm paying kill fees, and you know,
and what are you gonna do with the alligator?
what are you
Yeah.
going to do with that? The big question is, what are you going to do with the alligator?
Look, I bought an
Tell me
alligator.
that,
Don't be
Barbara.
like,
No.
don't be late. That's awesome. Is there oh, what I definitely want to talk about with you is like you have such a great natural look. Like you have an amazing body. You have your face is gorgeous. I'm just a big fan of all of it. What I love is like and I don't give a fuck if you've like had work done or not, but the point is like you don't look like you've had any work done. Like you look super natural, and I just
Well, boobs
noticed.
are fake.
Oh,
Good
really?
surgeon though.
Okay. Oh
Yeah,
my
good surgeon.
God.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. Everything else is, well, Botox, but everything else is real.
Do you feel like there's pressure? Do you ever feel like, oh God, I don't know, because I'll see girls in the industry, like they'll look a certain way and then boom, they'll blow up their lips, or boom, their face will look so puffy. And I get it, because like even regular women, you know, like whatever, I'm 37. It's like I get it. Like you're not gonna like look a certain way forever. And I think people can do whatever the fuck they want with their bodies. But I wonder if you feel a pressure being, you know, being in the industry, and if you see, look at what other girls are doing, do you feel like, oh, I maybe should up this or switch this up, or I don't know. Does that ever like
There's
weigh on
always a
you?
lot to compare to for sure, but I also feel really confident in the kind of aesthetic that I like, and then also just kind of like how I want to look. Like I understand that you know, sex doll face is really in right now, and the, you know, large fake ass is really in right now, and I can appreciate it on other women, but I guess I just, you know, there's something about like the natural face that really appeals to me on the inside. So I guess it just depends, you know, what you're into. I
It's
know there's a
true.
lot of pressure. A real odd thing in the industry, especially now, is like if you're like 18 to 25, you get all these like teen roles where you're supposed to look like really, really young. And then there's this like no man's land where it's kind of like hard to cast you, and then you're a MILF. So sometimes people in that middle ground, and I'll say a name just because I know she would tell you this herself, like Dana de Armand has been in
I
porn
don't
for
know her.
many, many years. And she had a very like slim, petite body with smaller breasts. And then as she aged, she realized that just through age, you're not going to be getting the teen roles anymore. Well, where does that leave you? She felt that in order to take the next step in her career, she needed to look more like a MILF. And so she had a little work done. You know, a lot of people will get the bigger breasts, things like that, so they can get into the MILF category regardless of age. So I do know there are some pressures like that. Like if you feel like you're not getting work, some people might do things that they think will get them work and it doesn't always, and then you've done something. And I mean, not in her case, but in general.
Yeah, and how like terrible must that feel? You're like, if
Oh
somebody
yeah,
in
it's
the
just
industry is
my
like,
boobs, and
I
then it's
need,
like not.
yeah, like all the only thing that's separating me from more work is like a big fake ass, and then you shell out for that, and then you don't get the return on your investment. You're like, oh shit. Well, at least I guess I'll balance cups on it. Like, what am I gonna
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely the same with like I have friends that are professional dancers or ballerinas. In any of the aesthetic arts, you're always taking a bit too close of a look at yourself. So I think, keeping that, it's hard sometimes to keep a healthy body image.
Yeah. And especially if you're not like you're doing great. And I imagine like if you're newer or like not or floundering a little bit, you look at somebody who is crushing it. And if they do have a lot of work or I wonder if this, like, do you notice like girls in the industry, like maybe trying to copy you, or do you ever notice like, oh, that's kind of my brand or kind of my style? Does that happen often?
I mean, I'm sure it does, and I probably just don't notice because we're all kind of copying each other. Like even being like a MILF or a cougar or the older woman, like all these tropes have been done and then done again and then stepped on and then dug up from the grave and then done again. Like, so I'm not sure how truly original any of us are, but I know a lot of girls get salty. They're like, well, I was the blonde MILF and now she's the blonde. You're like, nah, that's not how it works, girl.
You can't take a whole hair color in a whole category.
People think they can.
Mhm. Wow, it's so funny hearing you say like there's a no man's land from 25 to like whenever you're deemed a MILF, which is like still so young, you know?
So young, I
Mhm.
know. And it's not truly like that. It's just that there's so much teen work and so much MILF work. And then the babe work, the other work is just not as much. So the babes that have made it, the middle ground ones, are still some of the most famous pornographers ever. But it's like you could suck. And if you're super young or a MILF, you're working because there's
Yeah.
like 10 MILFs. You're just working as much as you want.
So there's only like 10 like
That's an
working MILFs
exaggeration, but there are
less.
very few. There are very few MILFs.
Why is that? Do you think it's like just there's 10 of you that like just fucking nail it and you get most of the work? Just cuz like what I hear is
I
like,
don't
okay, there's
know. I don't know
few
why there's
male.
not a lot of
Mhm.
older women in porn. Maybe people are over it by the time they're older, or
Yeah, maybe they burn
that's
out. Maybe it's like there's more girls like they're burning out in fewer years and they just, you know, don't get to that
yeah.
level.
I mean, I started as a MILF. Like I was older when I started porn, so it's like been my whole career. I'm not sure why there aren't as many MILFs as there are. Like there are tens of thousands of teens, I feel like. But like whenever
Yeah.
I'm looking at MILF work, I feel like I'm seeing the same women over and over and over.
I imagine you're not gonna like, yeah, you're not gonna be like turn 45 and be like, you know what, I'm gonna get into porn. Like I
Right. Maybe
can't think,
that's the problem.
yeah, I can't think of any other like, you know what? I'm sick of working at this bank.
I'm doing porn,
Yeah,
damn
I
it.
I saved up. I gotta show off these new boobs, you know? Like,
Hell yeah.
why not?
For every big titted banker out there watching this, please join porn. There's plenty of room for the
Yeah,
MILFs.
yeah. Wells Fargo doesn't appreciate you.
Yeah, I do. I do.
Do you feel I feel like there's a larger conversation going on that like and I've heard this because I've interviewed God, like so many people. Um I think I'm thinking of Jackie St. James, who I did on a previous episode, and
Love
she's
her.
I love her too. And we
Love.
talked about that the idea of racism in porn or like porn not being woke and how to deal with this and representation, which is always important. But I wonder, like to me, it feels like, okay, well, sexual desires to me, I think of my own sexual desires, they're not woke, they're not PC. Some of them
Mhm.
aren't even legal. So
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like that's right now, like the woke discussion is kind of like in style. Everyone wants to seem like they're I don't know, smart and respectful. But then on the other hand, that you're in the business of fulfilling sexual needs and desires, which aren't always like
Right.
something you would
And I
say out
think
loud that, you know what I mean, is
I think it's almost like a bigger conversation. I think there's room for all the types of porn. Like I liked to watch forced sex, obviously not, it's not actually forced, but that's my fantasy, which is obviously bad. You know, you can't have rape, actual rape on film. So I totally get your point about fantasies not aligning even with the law at times. You know what I mean? And I think there is a room for every type of fantasy, even race play fantasies, age play fantasies, you know, rape play fantasies, whatever all those fantasies are. But I think what we can change in the adult industry is, like you said, representation. Because what is even still happening in adult is you'll have like a feature movie and you'll need a wife and a girlfriend and a neighbor and it'll still be all white people. You know what I mean? So
but
I
what
feel
if
like a
in
lot
that
of times,
neighborhood there is all, because there are neighborhoods that are all white people.
sure,
I
and
mean,
I'm not saying you can never
yeah.
have that, but it seems like a lot of the people of color are traditionally only cast in the
Fetishy.
roles
Mhm.
that are fetishized for race play. And I think that's super fucked up. That would be like if I was only doing stepmom roles. You know what I mean? Or only like that seems a little odd. And I think we need to take a closer look at casting and what type of messages, because the porn in the United States here in Los Angeles feeds the world. So we can put out strong messages by just changing, you know, if you're doing a gonzo scene, gonzo meaning no script, you could have people of different races with it still being a big wet ass scene or a big tit
Mm.
scene or an anal scene without having it have to be race play every fucking time, or to not hire a person of color in a movie, which happens. Oh, no, this isn't a IR title, this is a big tits title. Well, she's got big tits, or he has a
Hmm.
penis, what are we doing here? So I think that is the thing that people are trying to change. I don't think they're trying to fetish shame people or remove fetishes, but having the pornography we create being more inclusive, because we have tons of fucking people of color doing porn. You know, I don't think every Asian performer needs to be in a massage parlor scene every time. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like that. And we're making those choices. So we can make different choices
Interesting,
without
because
removing that as porn. That all should still be porn, but we can do better.
it's interesting because the average guy who's listening to this right now, who's thinking if they have a massage parlor fetish or fantasy, they're probably thinking Asian woman who doesn't speak English, who's like jerking them off.
Sure. And
So
they
it's
can,
like,
and we should still film that. But
yeah,
that same Asian performer could do other movies too.
right. So it's like we don't want anyone to be pigeonholed in work. So to me, I'm wondering, I'm like, is it a chicken or egg thing? It's like, do the people on the production end, are they worried about like keeping separate fetishes or keeping categories like pure in a way, you know, like well,
But then
people
why do white people get every other category?
yeah,
Every other category belongs to white people? I don't know, man.
it's a thing. It's like if porn is a kind of like white dominated industry from talent to production, it's like maybe there's an implicit bias there because it's like, oh, from my point of view, like a white person's not going to fetishize another white person. So it's like it's almost like, okay, it's they're not trying to be stereotypical. It's just like you're just stuck in here, and it's so tricky because it's like,
It is
and I don't know like how diverse it is on the production side in porn, but it's almost like
not as diverse as it could be.
not as diverse as it could be. And you wonder if that's like, is that out of interest? Like maybe there's not enough like black and brown people interested in producing porn. To me, it seems like there's more white talent than black and brown talent. But then again, maybe I'm not like
Oh,
looking
definitely. I mean,
everywhere.
for sure, there's definitely more white talent, especially if you're looking like worldwide, because Europe especially like Eastern European countries have a lot of porn production too.
It's so
But yeah,
interesting.
I think people are trying to just not, I mean, I don't know, just from the conversations I heard, not necessarily eliminate anything, but just with our talent pool, meaning all of us that perform in porn, having better crossover when the scene doesn't say it has to be this or it'll ruin the fetish, you know,
Yeah.
in all the
Yeah.
other scenes where
Right.
that isn't part of the thing, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, who gets to say like what ruins a fetish and doesn't? And it's like, ultimately, it's like, I guess it's down.
Well, yeah,
to
if you're
who's making
having,
it.
if the fetish is to have a person of a certain color with a person of a different color, then that's the fetish, then it has to be what it is. But yeah.
Yeah.
But a big wet tits movie, I think, should have any old titties in it. For me.
As long as they're wet.
Yeah, as long as they're wet and big.
I forget who I was like talking to about this, and because we were talking, maybe it was Jackie St. James. We were talking about like diversity, and she was like, "Yes, there could definitely be more." And I was like, I wonder if an upside to this like age of OnlyFans is that maybe people on the production side would be like, "Okay, who's crushing it?" That's like if we're looking for more like Black female talent, who's crushing it on OnlyFans right now? Who's a Black woman? Like maybe that's a new casting pool to work from, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, when social media came out, it became a huge, very relevant determination in a lot of companies' choice, because if you have millions of followers on Instagram, you advertising their scene is going to bring them way more dollars than New Girl who has 100 followers. So if social media makes the difference, if it's not already happening, I'm sure it's only a matter of time before those other things are taken into consideration. Because yeah, if you're popular on OnlyFans and making a ton of money, you obviously have pull. There you go.
It's like another like backdoor way into the industry. No,
Yeah,
no pun intended. I don't know.
Pun intended. Yeah.
Pun intended.
We're letting them in the back door now.
Yes, I prefer that way. So Cherie, you're up for so many awards this year. AVN, you are nominated for MILF Performer of the Year, Best Leading Actress, Best Three-Way Sex Scene. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, by the way. And for XBiz, you are nominated for Best Girl. I think this is for Wicked and Bare Maidens. MILF, POTY, is that a POV thing?
Performer of the Year.
Oh, MILF Performer of the Year.
Yeah.
I'm like, MILF Potty, that's a new genre.
Yeah, I go to the bathroom like no other MILF on film. Try me.
Best trans sex scene, best VR sex scene, which like to me, VR, is that difficult to do?
Well, I think what's difficult or different about it is like in a traditional scene, the camera is seeing everybody involved, whether it's boy, girl, group scene, whatever, everyone's energy participates in the film. But in most VR scenes, the VR rig is stationary. And one person, often the guy, is laying, sitting, standing behind the rig so that the rig is their eyeballs. So it's like a super immersive POV. So when you're performing as the not stationary person, you have to do everything. They can't talk, they can't lead dialogue, they can't move, they can't touch you. So you have to be interesting verbally, retain eye contact, do all of the sexual positions yourself. You know what I mean? You're doing cowgirl, reverse cowgirl, So when you're doing VR, you're doing a lot. And if you're not comfortable talking, it's not going to do well. So I think
to me that sounds like a pornographic one-woman show. Honestly, you're like
kind of, yeah. And there are some directors and some rigs that allow more than that, but that's super typical.
Okay, that sounds extremely difficult. I mean, like you're being humble about it, but it's like you're like, yes, it's no big deal. You just have to do everything
for like 2 hours. It's fine.
I'm like, do I have to imagine the cameraman naked? Do I have to like?
Because the guy or girl or whoever's laying under the camera can't even touch you. You can't even see their face. It's obscured by like all this crap.
Wait, they're laying under a camera?
it's like this crazy rig where there's like these two eyeball cameras and like sound cameras and sometimes like ear cameras. And it's, you can barely see what's going on with your actual performer because you're looking into the eyes of the camera. You know what I mean? Like it's that
Wow.
person. So it's really weird performing into a lens.
What I'm imagining is there's a cameraman, maybe he's 200 something pounds. He's laying on the ground. And then there's like, what, like Danny Daniels laying on top of him. And then you're on top of her. Like, is he just like
The camera
underneath?
person actually only sets up the VR because you can't
Okay.
touch it or wiggle it at all.
Like
Or
they
to like
just sit on top of you.
would be like,
Okay.
you know.
Oh, right. Of course. What was
So there are multitude of people in the room, but in terms of like the camera is like stationary. So every time you switch positions, they have to like spend all this time moving the camera around, and then you start up again and you start up again and you start up again. Yeah.
that sounds so hard because that's like not only do you have to be like good at porn, but it's like you have to that separates the men from the boys in my mind. Cause like if you're a legit actress, you can do that. And if you're
Yeah.
not, like it's gonna come through.
And the same for the men, the same for the bodies under the camera. Can you imagine if you were a male performer keeping an erection with no physical contact and no visual stimulation at all and having to stop every 15 minutes for long periods of time?
That
You
you'd
gotta
have to
maintain that
be
erection.
you'd have to be a Jedi. Like, how is that even how is that possible?
There
Like who
aren't
can do
many
that?
male performers that can do it, honestly.
Who can do that? Name them. Who's your
Name them. God, I can't even remember who I was with. I've worked with Cody really well in VR, James Dean. I think I've done a
different?
scene with Manuel. There's a few of them that can do it.
Oh.
I feel like they must have like really strong mental game, you know?
I
Really strong
every
mental.
time I talk to somebody in the adult industry, I like gain more and more respect for male talent. I mean, it's hard if you're like man or a woman. There's different challenges on either side, but like men are like I feel like they're so visual, and it's like some probably need like constant stimulation. I just can't, and it's so hard. Like you have to be okay with like your balls touching another man's balls. You have to be okay with other like 10 dudes holding equipment, seeing you naked. Like
And sometimes your talent just like doesn't even want anything. Like I try and be very, you know, whatever my talent needs, I'm like really try and be there for them. Like, and you get to know people and you get to like, oh, this guy likes this, and that person likes that. He wants his nipple rubbed. He likes this when he comes. I try and like database all that stuff. But
yeah.
some women, like if you call cut, they're on their fucking phones. You keep your heart on or you don't, you know? Like
So the
so
big guy
as
sitting
male
there.
talent, you gotta be able to deal with both helpful and unhelpful scene partners.
What are some things that surprised you? Of course, you don't have to like name who it is, but like, what are some things that surprised you? Like, oh, okay, these are things that like male talent likes that will keep them going.
Everybody's different. Like
Yeah.
some people, one guy likes it when I put my pinky finger in his urethra. Some people like to be
Oh,
bit. Some people like
wait,
nipple
that's
play.
in a penis. Yeah, wait, the urethra. Like,
Yeah, like the pee hole, you know what I mean?
interesting.
Um, aggressive. Some people like it light. Some people really like a lot of like romantic eye contact. Some people like dirty talk.
Ooh,
One guy likes it when I whisper about anal for him in his ear. Like everyone has their own thing that'll, you know, get their motor running if you're reaching a point where it's like it's been a long scene or people's energy is flagging or you've had to start again and again, you know.
wow. It's really like it's like it takes the MILF to like a whole nother level because it's like, yeah, it's like that you're just nurturing. I mean, that's just why like I love women. Women are so great. Like we're so like, and I bet half those things you could figure out without even talking to them. You know, you could
You
just
have
like,
to because they
mhm.
don't want to like some people are really open about what they need, but a lot of people really aren't. So you just got to kind of figure it out.
That's what this is women. This is like it's like we can figure out what you need because it's like we're just listening, we're paying attention, and it's like probably through working with them, you're logging. Okay, these are the things this guy likes or this girl likes, and if they're
Yeah, oh,
having a
when I
bad
said
day,
this, they got really hard, or like, oh, you could see her eyes get excited, and you know, then you kind of log all that for next time, you know.
yeah, it's like you're like a little archaeologist, but with genitals, just.
Yes. Archaeological genital divining rod. I don't know.
And I'm sure, and I've heard this from other girls, like you've actually, been able to kind of save the day sometimes, like if someone's been really out of it, or like, it comes down to your scene partner. I know that's like an improv term, but like, yeah, it comes
Oh, that's
down
what we
to,
call it, scene partner.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's sometimes like you're the only person, because you have that closeness, and you're like, you can just pull them out of it, or
go in another room for a minute and relax and just, hang out and take the pressure off, or whatever you need to do. Yeah.
do you think that male talent are ever like, oh God, if I don't get it going, like, if I can't perform, like I'm costing this much money or this much
Yes.
time?
And that's accurate. That's one of the biggest pressures on being male talent, is you have a room full of people with no real emotion, just literally just waiting for you to get hard. Just like a group of
Wow.
people just standing around, kind of glancing at your dick every once in a while, going,
Oh my God, I don't even have a penis.
you know what I mean?
But
And it's true. If you don't get
yeah.
hard, or heaven forbid, if you get hard and fuck and then you can't pop, you did just waste everybody's time and
Oh,
money and the whole day.
oh my
It's,
God.
I know, I can't even stand it. That's why I'm so helpful.
Your poor
But yeah.
penis. Yeah. Like, you're
But
like,
at the end of the day,
let me
that's
talk
also
to your
what it
penis.
takes. That's
Yeah.
why every man thinks he can do porn. I don't know. That's a extremely challenging job, to be, not just to be able to have the head game to do that, to be able to fuck for the exact amount of minutes that you're supposed to, which is different for everybody, to be able to stop, start. The girl wants to take a break, get her hair touched up, have a slice of pizza. Okay, well, she'll be back in 15 minutes or whatever. And then you're going to have to start again. And then you have to come on command. The director's like, all right, ready for the pop shot. It better not take you 5 minutes. You better be ready for the pop shot right then.
Oh my God.
It's
So
a
what's the
crazy
range?
job.
This is fascinating to me. So like, what's the range of time? Like, just if there's anybody listening to this thinking I could get into porn, because there's probably a lot of guys listening. What's like the range, like low end, high end of what, like, okay, a male talent will have to
If
keep going.
a miracle happens and there are no cuts, which doesn't happen, somebody needs to go to the bathroom or get a sip of water. But in a miracle situation with a company that is speeding through sex, you're going to have to fuck for at least 40 minutes.
Straight, but or no, or in
Straight through. If you can, you do it straight through. But
for 40 minutes.
what
Oh my
normally
God.
happens is, 15 minutes go by and like I'm not getting enough, maybe I don't have enough saliva, so I'm going to need a sip of water. So now I'm getting my water and somebody's, sit there jerking off, and then you get back in and somebody checks continuity and you're off to the races again. And then
Like, oh, one of your earrings fell out.
or like your eyelash is loose. I mean, some companies don't care about that, or maybe there was like, I don't know why, but some companies don't like it when you get creamy, which is super normal. So they'll cut and you'll have to safety wipe.
Yes, I don't understand that. And I don't watch as much porn as I should, but like, I wonder if like, is there a shame around that, or is just like a visual thing? Cause it's the most natural, but I've noticed like, and through talking to girls, like the extent to which it's not just hygiene, but like you have to excavate, like you have to get every trace of your normal,
Oh
like,
yeah, like directors will be like, pull up your nose, we're doing a booger check, just to make sure.
wow. It's so
Make sure you brush
interesting.
your tongue, so you don't have that like any coffee on your tongue, all that. Yeah.
And when you said like some girl like break, have a slice of pizza, come back, like I would never be able to do that because I'm like such a people
I would
pleaser.
never either.
So many, just in my regular life, so many like sucked so many dicks being like, I'm starving, I'm tired, I don't even like this person, like they, you know what, but they paid for dinner and this will be over soon. And you know what I mean? Like,
You'd be great at this then. No breaks. Power
no
right
breaks.
through.
No breaks.
You're like, I'm so dry, but we're doing this.
I'm so dry, but I just have to, muscle through it. And it's like, you know what? Let me just let me count back from 60. That usually works.
Yeah. So anyway, best case scenario, you're fucking for like 40 minutes. And most times it's quite a bit longer. And then very often you do your full 40-minute hardcore scene where you open up to see penetration, and then you'll have to do the same scene again for another 20, 30 minutes in softcore.
Wait a minute.
To
What?
sell it to
Explain that
cable.
again. So, oh my God. So you do like, I imagine
You
like
do
your
the
heart.
intro, you do the making out, you do the oral sex, or not all the oral sex, it depends. And then you do it where you can see genitals, penis, vagina, everything.
Your hardest pumps
Right.
for
And then
40 minutes.
the guy comes, and then you do it again.
Immediately. You don't get
Softcore where
a,
you're closed up. And then like sometimes the guy doesn't get hard again, and it's kind of okay because you're just doing softcore, but then you have like flaccid genitals flopping against each other for 20 minutes while you're trying to pretend it's the most erotic thing you've ever been through, so that when they sell it to cable, you're not just like, yeah, that's, oh yeah.
you're like, actually, it feels like a deflated whoopee cushion. But you know what? You can't, like, they have a very hard and then soft job and then hard job. Yeah.
But then it's awkward. I don't care how much I like someone. Softcore, if they're not hard, which I totally understand, you just came, is fucking weird.
Yes, because after guys come, they are done. They want a sandwich. They want to roll over. Sometimes they just want to not talk to you. Sometimes they want to leave.
You don't
Sometimes
want to like
it's time to
bounce
get
up
an
and
Uber.
down near each other for another 30 minutes, pretending you're having the best sex of your life.
Again, then they have to be amazing actors as well, because biologically they are done. They are out the door.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh man, how many times, like, I guess, right, over the course of like, I don't know, like per week or month. I don't know. I don't know how many shoots like people do like per week or month, but like fraction wise, I hate to say like how many times are you faking versus like genuinely having an orgasm. I'm so curious, like,
That's actually super company dependent. I know
yeah.
that's funny, but like some companies let you just have sex, and then it's very real and it's wonderful, and they don't care if you come once, twice, not at all. You can just do you. And that's a wonderful experience. And then there are directors who are like, okay, come, and that means they want you to fake an orgasm right then.
You're
'Cause
like,
they
but
have it
I'm
all,
a woman.
they have it all storyboarded out, though. They don't care if you come. They're just like, you're going to come in this position, then you're going to come here, then you're going to come like this, then you're going to be up against the wall, then you're going to come. So, then it is what it is. And then if you do come when it's not coming time, you have to hide it.
Oh
Because
no.
it's not in the script. You know what I mean? Like, so it really is company dependent.
Which is what Bob Ross would call a happy accident. I mean, like, who doesn't like an
happy
extra
little accident.
Yeah.
Just, you're
Happy
moving
little
along,
trees.
you're having sex.
Then what do you have to do? You just have to like just keep
Usually
it low
I'll
key.
whisper something naughty in my talent's ear or something,
Ooh, be like, I'm coming, but nobody
If
can
you
help but
see
you.
people like whispering to each other and you can't hear what you're saying, they're saying personal, real shit to each other that the camera can't hear, which I find.
I love that. I think there should be as much of that as possible, because for something that it's obviously so public, like you should be able to like steal your moments with your coworker, like where you can. I'm sure there's like plenty of times where you're like, oh, I have to fuck this guy again. Like I can't stand him. Like not to the point of like a no list, but I'm sure there's
Right. But
like,
just where you're like,
don't love them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel pressure, like you personally, or like in girls in the industry in general? It probably depends on your personality. Like if you're easygoing, people pleasing, maybe you wouldn't no list people. But if you're like, I don't know, like how many people are on your no list? Like what does it take to be on your no list?
I don't have that many people on my no list. You have to usually, no, exclusively. If you're on my no list, it's personal. Do you know what I mean? Like you did something specific to me or one of my friends that sucked. Or like I found out you like beat a dog, or like,
oh no,
shit,
nothing.
that is like not okay with me. You know what I mean? Because otherwise you're all beautiful, we're all professional, we're all coworkers, we can all get along and be erotic enough to turn each other on and have sex. But if I know you're like a bad person, or if you did me dirty, you're out.
Even if you could have pet a dog but chose not to, you would be on my no list.
You'd have an extensive list.
If
Well,
you do not love dogs.
you could be one of those girls like Danny Daniels that just has a yes list. Well, I
Oh
mean,
my
she
gosh,
doesn't
that's
perform with anyone else now, but when she was in porn, she just had a very exclusive yes list, and people would like clamor to get on it. It was really cute.
wow. Yeah, because you'd be like, this is, hard to get on. This is exclusive.
Very exclusive.
That's my yes list up until 6 years ago was like whoever can pay for a Greek salad. A large Greek salad, I am in. Something will happen.
Croutons? No croutons?
Yeah. Ooh.
Are they splurging? Are they
Mm-hmm.
like
If you're
adding
go-
chicken?
yeah, if you're gonna splurge, you can splurge wherever you want, buddy. Yep.
So you get anal.
Yes. Although I've only done anal drunkenly once in college. I think I may have been unconscious for that. I don't know if that counts. And then with an ex-boyfriend who was small in the pants. So I was like, yeah, go nuts. Put it
Yeah, you're like,
wherever.
"Put
I
it
can't even
anywhere,
feel it.
sis."
Yeah. Go nuts. I want to talk about, so you had a pretty public run for president. It ran for about 17 months, which is amazing. Please tell me what inspired this, because I think it's very cool.
Honestly, I feel like I don't know how you feel about America right now or politics, even not this election, but the election before. It seems like people that are celebrities for any reason, that have the public eye for any reason, that have a social media following for any reason, are getting a much bigger shot at public office than perhaps they should be, right? So to me, I feel like it was the perfect opportunity, and maybe the only opportunity that someone in entertainment might have before this tightens up again and we become presidential, to hold that kind of higher office or any public office. So for me, it was never actually about winning the presidency. It was more about becoming as vocal as I could as a spokesperson for sex workers in that political arena. So even my run for presidency, I had no delusion that either of the real parties were going to choose me as their candidate. But I did believe, and I felt like it was successful, that my running in and of itself gave and even humanized a little bit sex work, sex workers, showed maybe some people that, we're whole people. We're not just doing porn. We have valuable opinions, and there are things that happen in politics that affect us in very real ways, and we are strong and we have a voice. And I was trying to just sort of get that a little more into the public eye and become a little more galvanized, even within my little sphere of pornography, and trying to push the political things that are going to affect us. We had the condom law fiasco, where they were trying to say that we could only shoot with condoms, all the different things that happened to online sex workers when they thought that all communications between escorts were probably sex trafficking, and they shut that all down. So there are political things that if there isn't someone, because nobody likes us on either side, if there isn't somebody there going, wait a second, no, we just get swept under the carpet. It's like something the left and the right can agree on. Hey, fuck us, but not in a good way.
Yes, I talked about this with Brandy Love, and the whole, this was a few weeks back, but like, yeah, the far right and the far left, it's like you would think the feminists would be all for porn, but so many of them are like, no, they feed into the patriarchy. It's all for the male gaze, despite the female friendly porn. It's like most feminists I meet are just like choose to be miserable, and it's just like there's nothing will help. And then it's like far right, like the obvious, like
they're
if they're super religious,
Yes,
yeah.
God.
Meanwhile, like they're all low key totally watching porn. So
that's the thing. That's why you can't say the left or the right is for porn. Nobody's for us, so somebody needs to be for us, and it's only going to be one of us.
It's so great. Oh, nobody's for porn, but like, so then who's watching other than like most people?
Everyone. everyone.
Wow. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, you ran to bring the issues that affect sex workers,
Sex
you know,
workers.
to light
Right.
mostly.
And it worked, I was able to get a lot of great political journalists to take me seriously. I was able to get my voice out there in a way that I really don't believe I could have without, making that attempt.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really cool. To me, it's just like that's what like the libertarians are doing. Like, we don't think we're gonna win. We're just like out there for we have like our small goals
Right, out
and
there trying to say what we want to say, out there trying to make our voice heard, to change a few opinions, not just in who's the president, but on all these other little elections, all these propositions, all of those things that change our life in so many ways. If you're more educated about it, or you've heard about it, or you see, look, this Cherie DeVille seems like a real person, not just some hoe that we don't care about. Maybe we should talk about workplace rights and talk about, their work as a real job and things like that.
I hate so much even the phrase like, oh, we have to the phrase of humanizing sex workers is like it blows my mind. It blows my mind. Like what?
Was I
Like
a rabbit
yeah.
last week?
Why is no one trying to humanize dentists or like we're trying to humanize like CEOs? Like it's
Right.
Just, yeah.
It's just like, has anyone, well, sometimes people in the arts get asked this question, but I don't know that I've been through very many interviews without being asked, what do your parents think about it? But if you really pick apart that question,
I haven't asked that.
but the question itself comes with a thought process. You know what I mean? Like, I would never be like, so what did your parents think when you said you do comedy?
They treated it like a joke. My mom actually called it when I went to improv. Well, I would pay $400 for an improv class. And then I did that for 5 years and I just lived at home. And my mom would be like, how was clown school? And it was like that. So they didn't respect it. Like they still don't. I don't know what it would take, but it's like, luckily I don't care. And,
but not every profession has to go through that stigma. Like if you were a doctor, would your parents have like chided you like that?
Yeah, no, hell no. They would have been like, we're so proud of you. We're going to tell everybody you're a doctor. Yeah, it's just, and that's the thing is like, to me, what matters is like, I don't need them for money and they can suck it. So clearly I'm not over it now. Like they're like supportive, but it's like, there's support. And then there's like, but then still sort of like talking shit. It's like nobody in my family like watches. That's kind of what I love about having like this podcast and my other podcast on Compound Media. Like nobody in my family is a fan of what I do. Nobody's like watching every episode. And thank God, because I talk so much shit. Like like if my dad was a fan of my work, he'd be like, oh God, you told everybody I threw a chair at you when you were 8, like oops.
Stuff to unpack here.
Yeah. Be like, yeah, well, these are my people. They care. But yeah, I hate the phrase humanizing sex workers.
Because the implication is that we aren't.
Yeah. And it's like, what does your parents think? It's like, why does anybody do anything? Because they love it and or they're good at it or both. So.
Yeah, I don't know there must be something behind that question. I'm not sure what salacious detail they're looking for or why they're looking for it, but everyone's looking for that.
I wonder if it's like, right. Cause I look at a lot of these interviews and it seems to me like a lot of red carpet interviewers are like, to me, it looks like a lot of dudes who are just trying to get close to porn stars and a lot of dudes who are just trying to get FaceTime. And like, of course you guys are hot. I totally understand. It's like they're face to face, like meeting their fantasy. Like, of course my hand is shaking. I've jerked off to you 2,000 times. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can understand those dudes. There's just so many of them. So I wonder if that question comes from like, oh, how do you deal with the shame that I assume that you are facing all the time?
How do you deal with the shame that I would feel, I think is the real statement there.
And then it's like, my parents don't care. My parents are fine with it. It's like, oh, now we're going to judge your parents or.
I know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I'm sure some of some of them mean well, but it doesn't sound great. So
Yeah, I don't think they mean to be offensive. In fact, I'm pretty certain they don't. I think it's just like this cultural indoctrination that we're bad, that is just coming out even in the questions.
yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Have you been hit on a lot by like interviewers or just like even industry people, or does it happen? I mean, I can't imagine what your DMs look like on social media.
My DMs are a total shit show. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I get hit on more now that I do porn than before I did porn. I think, just being a woman in the world, you're just gonna get hit on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just gonna
But
happen.
the big change is that I've opened myself up to the world. And so more people see me and my DMs look atrocious for the most part. It's just bizarre though. It's not even that they're sexual. It's just so odd. It's like an interesting social experiment waiting to happen. Some researcher interested in human sexuality should go through a bunch of people's DMs and try and figure that shit out.
Oh my God, it's wild. Okay, so here's a fun, quick question. If you were on I don't want to say deserted island, but like maybe you are on a deserted porn island and you could have 3 women and 3 men, that's it. These are who you're gonna shoot with. Who would you pick?
The 3 women would be Danny Daniels, Aaliyah Love, and Alexis Fox.
Ooh.
And then the men, that's so much harder. Maybe like Ramon, and Manuel, and who else have I had like the best scenes with? Oh, the men are so hard. Maybe like James Dean. I like him too. Yeah. The
What?
women are easy. I could choose like, could it just be an island full of women?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. And the food would last longer too. So
Yeah.
yeah. What makes for like, I'm just thinking like with male talent, like what makes for a really good scene partner, or what do you like to like in the men that you really love working with, like what do they do well?
They bother to connect with you before the scene.
Oh my
They
goodness.
make you feel sexy. They make you feel genuinely sexually attractive. They make you feel like they're excited to do the scene, excited to see you. They're connected and present throughout the scene. There's eye contact. Um, you can tell they're paying attention to your body. They're good at reading body language, so you don't always have to call cut if something is going in a way you don't want. They're watching intuitively enough to be able to change directions fluidly. I feel like those things make a bomb ass scene partner.
I can't believe there are men who don't do those things who are in porn, but like, yeah, they just it makes sense. Like they're like, well, I'm here to just do my pumps for 40
Or
minutes.
they're
And then like,
shy, or they're,
mhm.
and I'm sure every woman likes something different. I'm sure some women hate what I like. They're like, stay away from me until they call action, but I'm different. Yeah.
And so I imagine like on the other side, like what makes for a terrible person to work with would be like selfish. Yeah, like not trying to connect with you because you can't go from like 0 to 60. You can't go from like looking at your phone to like, let's make
Yeah.
chemistry and magic happen.
Yeah. Yeah. People that are disconnected, aloof, poor hygiene. Uh, yeah, those things would be, or just like awkward's not the right word. Some people have like, I don't know if it's like they're hiding behind a level of machismo that's unattractive to me, or different stuff.
Yeah, could it be right? Because it's like not everybody you work with is gonna. I wonder if there's like I don't want to say like, are they in therapy? But like, of course, not everyone you work with is going to have like all their shit figured out or like know themselves really well. So it could be that's coming through, or like that's a barrier to intimacy is like whatever they're dealing with, or
Yeah,
yeah.
like if someone is going through a whole scene and I can tell they're not making any eye contact with me, and I'm like,
You'd be like, are you gay?
or just like, am I hideous? Like, oh my God, what do you like? It just like, yeah, it can crush at least, it crushes my delicate soul at least.
I would be traumatized. Yeah. Oh my God. I have such respect for what you do. I'm such a fan, Sheree. Again, you're so hot. I'm like, I want to ask you, like, what is your workout regime? I know that sounds like fangirl
I
question.
actually have an online personal trainer, Janitha
Ooh,
Jane. She's LA based for real training, but
really?
COVID. And
What's
she's
her name? Jania?
Janitha Jane.
Janitha
Janitha.
Jane. Okay,
She's
cool.
amazing.
Do they ever tell you like what you guys should eat or recommend to you, like what to do, or they leave it up to you to?
I mean, maybe some agents do, but I don't know. Not that I'm aware. Who knows what people do? But no one ever told me what to do or eat or how to work out or yeah.
Okay.
But 5 minutes into reverse cowgirl in 6-inch heels will tell you if you have enough quad or glute strength. It will
Oh,
seriously make you make different decisions at the gym. You're like 3 minutes in going to do like squats 7 inches above the floor in heels for like minutes on end
oh
is
my God. That should
be
be
trained
that
for
should
that.
be a gym exercise. I mean, like minus the dick because it's basically squats. And if you're in heels, you're already at an angle, which puts more pressure on your
And like
calves.
for the camera, you can't do it like you do it at home. You have to be way leaning back if the camera is like this way. So you're like balancing on your fingertips with your feet on the floor with the dick under you, trying to like,
Oh my
yeah,
God. And you cannot look
absolutely.
like you're struggling and you can't look
No, it
like
has
you're.
to look like the most erotic moment you've ever had. Effortless.
Oh my God. Because I will do this, like, yeah, bouncing up and down move with my boyfriend where I'll just be like, again, yeah, you have this moment where you're like, oh, I have to, okay, I'm doing push-ups. Okay, cool. Like this is work. But it's like, again, if someone's loving it, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I will do this until I physically can't hold myself up anymore.
Yeah.
So I get that. Man, that's cool. There should be like a sex, I'm sure there are like sex workouts, aka
Yeah,
just
right. Like
just
one
working out is a
like
sex.
how to crush reverse cowgirl in 5 easy exercises.
Step one, buy 5-inch heels.
Yeah.
I love it. Sheree, you're the best. Where can people find you, follow you, support you if they have not seen your work before? Where should they go?
I'd say the first place would be Instagram, which is Cherie DeVille XO, which is CherieDeville XO. And then my everything, I put everything on there and lead you everywhere else. So that's the key. But I also have OnlyFans at Cherie Fans and a zillion other things.
Okay, so CherieFans.com is kind of
Cherie's
your
Fans,
OnlyFans.
sorry. Yeah.
Cherie'sFans.com. Amazing. I love it. Guys, check her out. She's worth a splack. No,
Yeah.
so weird. This was great. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.